speak love, everyone loves Lulu. See love, hear love, speak love, everyone loves Lulu.
What is going on? Oh my God, Talofa, what's up? It's me, your girl, Miss Lulu. Welcome to Everyone Loves Lulu. I know it's another episode, and it's actually my birthday. I'm so excited that I get to spend my birthday with one. He's kind of a big deal, y'all. Like, a really big deal. And I can't believe he was actually available to do this with me today. Can I get a big what to my boy Brandon Manumaleuna? Did I say that right? Manumaleuna?
You did, actually.
I had to
said
like
it better
break it
than I
up.
did,
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much. Just, I just became head coach at Losing High School.
Yes,
in
you
Lawndale.
did.
And then, like, a couple weeks ago, I didn't think we were going to even be playing. Then the governor gave us the okay, so I've been
You
coaching
just been
for
kind of
about
like
3
flying
weeks.
by the seat of your pants, like as a coach and also an educator. Now, everything changes pretty much by
Oh,
the
yeah.
second.
By the second. It's always new protocols, new things we have to go through. Sometimes you got to wear a mask. Sometimes when your helmet's on, you can take it off. Testing and all these things. So it's a new realm that I'm having to learn, previous from other coaching experiences. But just take it all in stride.
Well, and I know you have so much going on, so this means the world to me that you made some time to actually stop by.
Oh,
Actually, you were like running through right now from practice.
Yeah, I just got here from practice. It was we had a good
You
one.
weren't too hard on them, were you?
A little bit, a little bit. You gotta let them know. Kids think everything's just given or it's easy. I was like, nah, it don't work that way.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like even more so in this generation as well. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of the entitlement and
Well, I think the biggest thing for kids now is they have social media, they have the cell phones,
too much
internet,
information.
so they see things that normally we wouldn't have seen when we were kids. So seeing a kid driving around in a six-figure car is like, oh, that's normal.
Right. You're
Whereas
like, where's
us,
mine?
we would see it on the freeway and then be like, oh my God, and then
Like, I didn't even know one of those existed.
we'll see it every time we drive up to Beverly Hills, West LA area, and then you see it, and then you come back home and be like, oh.
Yeah, like, oh, I guess I don't have it that good. Okay, well, before we get into that, I kind of want to start from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, and let's take everyone through your journey. So, where are you from originally?
I was born in Inglewood. We'll go back. We'll go to the conception.
Okay.
So my mom's from Oakland, California. My father was born in Hawaii. Then they moved to Carson.
Okay.
My father's Samoan. My mother's African-American. They both went to UCLA. Met each other.
That's how they met.
That's how they met at UCLA. They have an older sister. Then they had me. Then things didn't work out. So my mom stayed in LA.
Okay.
Where I was born in Inglewood. Pretty much grew up in Carson. Some parts of LA. Then we kind of came back to South Bay. Then we go back to LA. But then we stayed in Carson, the South Bay area.
Okay.
And
that's how like crazy people like Joe,
Yeah.
Savage. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so grew up. Yeah, they used to bully me at church all the time. Yeah.
At church.
At church.
Oh my, the disrespect.
I know. Like
You're like, amen. Hey, Brandon.
Nah, but so did that, and then I just been here, kind of just following my whatever path came and trying to make the best of it.
Well, how did you get into football? I mean, I feel like you, from what I've read, from getting to know you as well, and everybody around you that grew up with you, football has always been a part of your life.
Yeah. So my dad played in the NFL. Well, he's a very good athlete. He played Banning High School in Carson area. Went to UCLA, got hurt, then went to a junior college for a year. Then he went to San Jose State.
Wow.
Got drafted, and then he played for the Chiefs. I'm not sure, 5-6 years. Then he played when they had the USFL, which was like the XFL now. Then he played there for a few years, and then he ended up just retiring.
Okay.
So, knowing that my dad was a professional athlete, it was always something that, you
that
just
was in your blood and you saw all the time.
Yeah, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So, I mean, when I was little, I was playing flag football or just sports in general from 4 all the way until my back started hurting, I guess.
No. Oh, so 4 years old is when you started.
Yeah, 4.
Holy
Flag
cow.
football,
And
T-ball,
yeah, because
every
I don't know
basketball.
if a lot of people know, but you also lettered. I mean, I'm kind of fast forwarding, going back and
Yeah.
forth, but you lettered in track as well and basketball.
Yeah.
Right?
I was
Okay.
I ran track. I started
Triple
running
threat
track.
over here.
No, I know it's like that's my black side. I ran the track, so I actually had a little speed on me.
Okay.
I don't know where those old videos are, but I'm gonna
You're like, I
find them.
can prove it. I can prove it.
I got a
So
couple
was that your
medals.
event? What was your event in track?
I ran the 400, the 200, and then when my coach, he used to always make me run the mile, so I ran the mile. I hated it, and then
Holy cow! First of all, I mean, for us Polynesians, we tend to be more explosive.
Yeah.
So the 100, kind of
Yeah.
makes sense for us. But like you said, your black side probably gave you a little bit more of the stamina. Because hardly, I don't know any Polynesians that do the 400.
Well,
Like maybe the 200,
Yeah.
but the 400,
Well, that's the thing. A lot of
that's
the
a lot.
and I feel like it's just a cultural thing. Like the Polynesians are great athletes, but they don't
just-
they don't
We
it
don't
just-
apply ourselves.
No, it's not that. It's
Or
just
no
it's just
resources.
track isn't a big sport to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because it kind of falls the same time as rugby or
Or other
now,
sports.
the other sports, and now it's kind of 7-on-7,
Especially
with
other
football.
team sports, because I feel like a lot of us don't really do individual
Mm-hmm.
sports. We tend to be more of a team sport
Yeah.
type of community because that's where I think the accolades are. That's what we are exposed to a
Yeah.
lot of the
and
time.
that's just our cultures. We're just kind of family oriented,
Yes.
which is kind of pretty much equals a team.
Yes, that makes sense because it's funny that you mentioned that because, me coming from American Samoa, when I was in the Olympics, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? So the Olympics are like, oh, that's an event every 4 years. Cool.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So, when I was playing, I always worked out on the off season with track coach. It's a real good friend of mine. So, if you're like I'm Samoan, so I could run for Samoa even though I was born in America.
Yeah.
So, in 2000, I was already retired, so it was like 2012 or whenever the Olympics were at that time.
Okay.
I tried to run for Samoa.
Did you?
Yeah, and so I actually one of the times, the 100-meter times, I could have qualified for, but the guy, I forgot his name. I'll find out. I'll remember it. But basically, it was like we want to give other people who basically didn't have a name.
Right.
Not like that, but
right,
what I'm
but
saying.
yes, but like that.
So
To
they
kinda give
wanted
them an opportunity.
more amateur people to do it. So they kind of just told me no.
You're like, you're overqualified, so
No, I really wasn't, and I knew I wasn't gonna win. Like I probably would have got last place, but if, it was a free trip, hang out in the Olympics.
come on, it's the Olympics. It's a
Yeah.
once in a lifetime for a lot of people opportunity. Not even an opportunity for most
Yeah,
people.
it was just I was just
so-
one to just
And it just helps that you're a natural athlete, so that helps out too. You have a little bit of
But
experience.
yeah,
you know?
I actually made the time to qualify for American Samoa.
That's
Yeah, it
great.
was like
I didn't know
11 some
that.
seconds.
Wow, actually, that's not bad.
Nah, I mean I would have got like dead last, in the Olympic race, but
Yeah, but I mean, you're still number one in our hearts, so
Uh,
that always.
you know,
Okay, so but you went to Narbonne High School.
correct.
Okay, so how did that come about?
What's funny is so at the time, my dad was coaching high school football, and he coached at Banning. He went there. So I always used to go to all the Banning games. I'd be on the sideline running around, and then it came to me going to 10th grade because back then it was 10th, 11th, 12th. And my mom was like, my sister went to Narbonne, and my mom was like, you're going to Narbonne. I'm like, why? My dad
What
coaches
was it?
here.
Right.
And it's literally like not even 5 minutes away from each other. And she just,
She said no,
no. So,
and that's really how you went to Narbonne instead of Banning.
because my sister went there.
Was your dad a little disappointed?
He probably was. He didn't really say anything, and
Yeah.
I didn't really get into it. But I could imagine, because I would have been upset with my son, but-
Right, especially if you were coaching at
yeah,
the school.
really. So I'm like,
He's like, that's an easy recruit that I couldn't get.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's
And
really
it's
rough.
funny is they would do like back then they had like the 7-on-7 passing tournaments. So we'd have the Watts summer games. They they would do passing leagues at El Camino College, and I would do it with banding when I was in 9th grade. Like I'd go up there after junior high, and I'd go do all the stuff and everything, and then 10th grade, my
And
mom
then
was
you're
like,
like,
"Nope."
ha, psych. I know all your plays. Now I'm going over to the other side.
So we went over there, and then it worked out though. I mean, I'm
And
not
see, and I
complaining.
didn't grow up here, so I don't. Is that a rivalry school, Narbonne and Banning, or?
They're in the same league.
Oh,
I
okay,
wouldn't
okay.
call it a rivalry because Banning kind of pretty much dominated it.
I
But
see.
like of late, it's been kind of a rivalry.
Okay.
But you know, we didn't lose to Banning when I was there, so that was cool.
Oh my gosh.
Throw
That
in
that
there.
must have gone real well during the holidays, at the dinner table. So
know.
how was your experience at Narbonne?
It was cool. I mean, it was high school.
Yeah.
I don't really like school, so
But also, though, I mean, when you came back, like I said, we're jumping back and forth, but you have been, I mean, you really helped out at your old high school.
Yeah.
When you,
yeah. So I
Came back.
got cut from the Bears, and then I actually tried out for a couple teams, the Jets, 49ers, a couple other teams. And then once they didn't sign me, I was just kind of over it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go coach. So I really didn't have a direction I was going. So I called up the head
but
coach.
you knew that you still wanted to be in football.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess it was just more of I wasn't ready to let go of it kind of thing. So I called the coach there at the time, and I just asked like, hey, can I come help out?
Yeah.
And then I never left. I was there for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years went by, and then things we all got fired from Narbonne, and then yeah.
Dang. None of your own special. It's like,
I know.
just
We got
all-
fired. Yeah, we got fired from. I guess it was for winning too much. I
Oh,
guess.
yeah, that happens,
And then, I ended up the opportunity came up with losing. I applied, and it's worked out.
And so far, how long have you been at Losinger now? It's your first year, right?
Yeah, I got hired in December.
When the world ended.
When the world ended, and now the world's open, and now I'm coaching in March. So
That is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, so-
Let's talk. I mean, we brought up the world ending. So
Mm-hmm.
how has it been with the pandemic? Just life. I know that you're a dad,
Mm-hmm.
and just when it happened, what were your feelings? How did it affect you?
I mean, the biggest thing, obviously was people losing their lives. It was kind of, obviously that's never good. And then just the way it was happening, because it was like this person got sick and then was dead, a couple days later, a week later.
Right.
And I had some friends I personally knew that it happened to.
I'm so sorry.
So it was just kind of a shock, but at the same time, you're kind of worried yourself because you don't know the seriousness of it, and then
You start to think about everybody you come in contact with,
Exactly.
And
then
I was looking at my kids all crazy too, and they're only 4 and 3. I'm like,
I know exactly, and then it's kind of the whole thing with politics was getting involved, and everybody's anti-Trump or this and that.
but then what happens is we're now all cornholed, right? And we're
Yeah.
stuck in the house, and you're gleaning onto any type of information. So
Exactly.
then you're starting to make up shit in your head. But then on top of it, I think the other scary part, and I don't know if you relate, but losing close friends and family to you, for me, it was how lopsided it was for us minorities.
Oh yeah.
How much it affected us personally, and especially Pacific Islanders. Like
Yeah.
we're the number one
Yeah.
affected, which is crazy because we're the smallest per capita, right? And yet we were the ones that we are the ones along with African Americans
Yep.
and other
Hispanics
yeah.
too. Well, like I said, from just what I've read and seen, that it affected people with pre-existing
Pre-existing conditions.
conditions. So
And we have quite a bit.
yeah, hypertension is big in the minority community.
Diabetes.
All those things. So, it's kind of
And it'll attack us.
yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, we aren't taking care of ourselves on one end, and now this is really like multiplying what we're doing wrong times 100.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully the people, like, we've all made it through. A lot of us have made it through. Hopefully it's a wake-up call to just our health in general.
Yeah.
It's kind of helped me. I've been in the house for pretty much, and it was actually a blessing in disguise for me personally, because I like to run the streets. So, you know, a lot of my favorite places closed down, and I was like, you know what? Actually, being at home, and you know,
Like, I should just sit the hell down.
I know I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking stopped drinking. You know, just a
Wow.
lot of stuff. So it's actually been good for me, health wise as well, and just kind of mentally, just kind of getting
Kind of
myself.
getting back to center and
Yeah, like just actually sitting down and having to really think about, you know, issues that you may have with yourself or just in your, you know, personal life, and it just,
at the end of it, do you still like you?
oh yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Because I'd be a little worried, you know. I mean, you're
Nah,
here, so
nah, it
that's a
was.
good sign.
Nah, you know, I'm always gonna love me. It's just I was like, I wish my time machine was working. I can go back and change a few things,
Change
but
a few
you
things,
know, it is what
right?
it is.
Okay, well, now let's go back to your career. After high school, you went to Arizona.
Correct.
Okay, did college there.
I got a scholarship to Arizona. Had a great time there.
Okay,
Um,
had a great time. I mean,
had a
Eda
great time.
MC was out there with you
Oh
too,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yep, yeah, I've heard quite a few things. We won't put it out there. I'm sure everybody knows already. No.
No, you know the funny thing is, so I took my 5 trips. I took my trips to USC, Colorado, BYU. My sister went to BYU at
Okay.
the time. Arizona State. So I had a blast at Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
On my trip, my recruit trip. I had a blast at Colorado. I had a blast at USC.
Sounds like there's a
BYU.
theme going
Yeah,
on.
BYU was just BYU.
BYU,
Yeah,
right?
we're partying in the barn and whatever. Um, and then Arizona. So Arizona trip, I went out there. It was during Christmas break, so you know nobody's on campus.
Right.
So I'm like, it's kind of boring here. And, you know, Tucson's not a big city.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of boring, a little slow. But I'm thinking like, hey,
It's probably what I need.
yeah, like that's what I'm thinking. Like, you know, maybe this is
Because
the
you
best
don't
way.
like school to begin with.
Yeah, and
You're
I'm like,
maybe
I don't need to be in LA. I don't need to be in Colorado because it was wild out there. And
Yeah.
then Arizona State was Phoenix is kind of basically
Yeah,
LA.
it's a big city, right?
So I
And
chose.
then, but BYU, I mean, Cal Tippin just wasn't your thing, huh?
Nah, I can't. It's too many rules. And so I went to Arizona, and it ended up being a good choice, and it actually was a lot of fun. It's just, you know, from my reasoning, I was thinking in the right direction.
Right, but then it's college
it still
anyway, right?
backfired. You know, I was like, so 9 kids later. No,
Right, exactly. But you majored in poli-sci.
political science.
How was that? I mean, what made you kind of go that route? Were you was it
Yeah.
kind of dropped on you?
Nah,
Or-
so I like politics. So I always wanted to I thought I was gonna be Obama before Obama.
Yeah, he kind
You
of
know,
stole your thunder, huh?
Stole it all. So you know, I was really into politics, and then I used to like law shows. So I would always oh, so everybody would be like, "Oh, you need a poli sci degree to be a lawyer." So I'm like, oh, "Okay, cool." So I can do either or.
Nice.
And then I didn't do either, but I guess
Hey,
I
but
can
think-
if I want to.
But you still probably use those skills in trying to argue your way with these kids all the
yeah.
time as a
Nah,
coach.
It doesn't work. It doesn't.
You're like, there is no argument. It's my
Nah.
way or the highway.
Yeah,
Period.
basically. So, but yeah, so I did that, and then I just kind of have it. But you know, I was always in. You know, I always kind of thought maybe I still get into politics because I'm starting to realize, you know, and no knock against Trump. I don't have nothing personally against him, but
Just the longevity. Like if
well,
he
I'm
can
like,
do
if
it,
he could do it, hey, I was like, I can't be any worse than Sarah Palin. You know, what I
Right,
mean? Not
right.
like that, but you know what I'm saying, like,
it's like I got a chance, like a real fighting chance.
yeah. Smile, say a few nice things.
Oh
and,
my
you know,
gosh!
ha-
I mean, and I mean, you can always run. What's his name? The tiger guy that everybody.
Oh,
He ran for president
Yeah,
at one point. That was
exactly. So
awesome.
I could do that, and you know, and it seems to be like the people with the most skeletons in the closet always. I'm like, I'm perfect. Like,
We just put it all out there,
yeah,
so might
and
as well.
hey, I'm just like you guys, both of me. So
Yeah, it's been a crazy 4 years, and now with the new administration. And okay, that's cool that you're into politics.
Yeah.
Maybe you can school some of us. And how does that pertain to you as a Pacific Islander, as a Polynesian? Have you kind of gotten any feedback, like politically? Because a lot of us, we are kind of. Was like when I talk to my mom or my dad in Samoa, I feel like they are stuck on the news all the time more
Yeah.
than we are. And my mom, is constantly like, "Did you go vote?" For people that can't vote, and what has your experience been with the Polynesian community when it comes to politics?
The biggest thing that I've always, and obviously I'm black and Samoan, but the biggest thing I've always tried to, well, just this is recently too. I feel like it was they were kind of, how do I put this without getting yelled at on Facebook?
Oh, don't worry, we get that every week.
It was like I felt like they were a lot of the Polynesians, and a lot of Polynesians support Trump, which is cool, but I feel like they were.
Isn't that surprising though a little bit? It is and it isn't. I think it's
one
generational, right? So the
is,
older generation, I feel like, are really back Trump.
Yeah, one aspect it is, but one it isn't, because I feel like Polynesians, for the most part, are hardworking people.
Yes.
You're kind of one of those groups where they go out there and, you get what you earn type thing. So in one aspect, I could see how a lot of them kind of lean towards Trump in that aspect. But in the other aspect, when you're talking about society and how they view people.
Yeah, and people of color.
Exactly. As someone who's been viewed as a Samoan or viewed as an African-American, a lot of people, you're viewed the same. You know what I'm saying? So I always felt like they're trying so hard to separate themselves from one group when those outside...
Really, we're more similar than we think.
Exactly. So it was like one of those things, like, I don't understand why they try to distance themselves from African-Americans when, as someone who's both and who's been viewed or stereotyped or all these things, they look at us as the same.
Yeah.
They look at me and say, "Oh, he's African American," and then they
find out that you're
then
Samoan.
They see my last name and they're like, "Oh, he's Samoan," but the treatment is still the same.
Right.
So that's why.
So is that some of the challenges you faced growing up?
No,
Did you really experience anything?
Yeah, I mean, just culturally, like I don't speak Samoan.
So you got shunned from your Samoan side, maybe sometimes.
Nah, I didn't get shunned. They just talked about me. But I'm not. I have thick skin, so it doesn't bother me. But I would get talked about like, oh, he don't think he's Samoan, this and that.
Well, what about your black side?
I mean, they're cool.
But
you're
really trying not to get yelled on Facebook, huh?
Nah, but that's the thing. Like, most black people, they're accepting of all races. You know what I mean? Especially minority races. So I didn't think they really cared.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to remember, when African Americans came here, they don't really have a quote unquote culture per se. So there's no language of African American. There's no culture of a history of African American from a country.
Right.
So
they're American.
They're American.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, oh, he speaks English. Looks like me. He's just a little lighter or whatever. So
with your light eyes.
It's just a light in here.
Okay, well, after Arizona, when did you get drafted? And it was to the St. Louis Rams when they were in St. Louis.
So I went through the process. I left school, so I didn't finish school right when I was there. I had left school because I kind of did well at the combine. I thought I did. So I was like, I don't want to go back to school.
Yeah,
so
I'm ready.
The draft was in April. And I left school like in March. And
I'm sorry, was that always the goal, to make it to the next level, to go to the NFL?
No, it wasn't a goal. It was more of a
the next step.
Yeah, just kind of what came. But it wasn't a goal until like my freshman and sophomore year. I didn't really have it as a goal. I was just trying to survive per se and contribute to my team and college team. And then my junior year, they started having, you see the little magazine clippings and stuff like that. And then there's people were talking about me. And then they have like the like Pro Draft Daily and all these magazines. And my name was in there. And people were like, oh.
Did they spell it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, they better.
So my name was in it. And I was like, oh, people are like really noticing me. And then I kind of started taking it serious. And then, it worked out.
And your position, though, at Arizona, you were defense?
Tight end.
Oh, tight end. Okay.
Yeah. I played defense as a freshman.
In college?
In college.
Okay.
And then,
I remember you played defense. But in high school, though, you were mainly defense. Okay.
I played both. And then I played defense my freshman year, and then I pretty much was full-time tight end the next three. Yeah, so it worked out. I went there, got drafted by the Rams, 4th round.
I know it was really cool because I found like information about what you signed with, like how much.
I'm still
Like,
I'm on,
dang.
I'm on child
I
support
got
right
your
now.
net worth over here is like,
Nah,
I think the government,
no,
might
no,
need
no.
a loan from you. No.
I'm paying child support right now, so we can't. We can't.
We go right.
They're gonna be playing this interview in court. Like, see, Your
You're
Honor,
like, she actually said.
I didn't never said that.
It's like, that's a little more zeros than I
Yeah.
admitted to. Okay, so you were in St. Louis for a long time. Okay, that's a cultural shock to
Yeah.
go from the heat, to
Yeah.
St. Louis.
It was well. What helped? Number one, we played in a dome, so it was always
Okay, nice.
70 degrees inside. But
What is in St. Louis? Is there anything?
it's Nelly. At the time, it was Nelly. So this is the funny part though. So I'm coming out of college. Remember the movie Any Given Sunday?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm like, oh man, the NFL's gonna be great.
I'm
and
like
then-
Willie Beeman, right?
Yeah. So I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna be great. And then Nelly came out, and I'm kind of see some of the videos, and I'm like, oh, St. Louis is, And then I
It's
get drafted
poppin'.
from there. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be. Then I got out there. I'm like, dang.
Fake news.
That's
They
nothing.
trapped you.
Oh my god. And then it's like, out there it's kind of really segregated. So it's kind of like, here it's kind of a melting pot in LA. Where
Right.
it's there, it's like one race lives in this area, another race lives here. So
Oh.
it's real segregated. So dealing with that, and then
But
You-
being an athlete and being part of the Rams, how did
Oh,
you
no,
feel
they-
the segregation?
nah,
Okay.
they didn't. They treat us like they treat us well.
Okay.
So I was, it was never that issue there, but it was just the nightlife there is not.
Non-existent.
Mm,
You guys pretty much had to create your nightlife.
Nah, it's a nightlife. It's just they got a nightlife where like, hey, I might die here, or then they got the nightlife where it's like, I get calling friends like, hey, you want to fly in? And hang out? It's not nothing there like where you could just be like, oh, I'm in St. Louis, let me go find something to do.
Yeah,
It's
kinda
like,
chill.
Nah.
So did you even go out very much?
Oh, yeah, I went
Okay. Oh yeah,
I
that's
went out.
right.
I mean, shoot,
You kind of find yourself in all groups.
yeah, I'm gonna make it happen somehow. So I went out. I mean, my 2 kids are in there, so
Something. You
Yeah.
definitely didn't stay in the house all
Yeah,
the time. At least not by yourself.
exactly. So yeah, I had a great time, and
And you were there for a while.
yeah,
It was
6 years. Yeah.
6 years, and you did pretty good out there. I mean, like,
Yeah, we had a good team, which was always fun, winning.
Right.
I got a chance to play in the Super Bowl. We lost to Tom Brady.
Yup, everybody has.
I know. I don't even feel any bad anymore. Tom Brady's like to that point now where I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna start cheering for him.
Absolutely. I feel like that's the consensus
Yeah.
now. Everybody is cheering for him. I've always been a fan of Tom Brady. I mean, not to take the limelight away from you, but hey, Tom, you listen to this. Brandon lost to you.
Nah, so like, the Patriots, and they have all this stuff about the deflate gate with the cheating the ball. All
But you
this
still
stuff.
have to show up and play.
Yeah. No, but so like I was anti-Patriots and everything, and then I didn't think he would win this. I thought Patrick Mahomes was, he's the next one up.
Yes.
And he won, and I was
Especially
sitting at home.
since-
Yeah, I was sitting at home like, you know what? I'm not gonna.
You can't hate him
Yeah,
anymore.
Tom Brady's a man, and I'm gonna cheer for him until he's done. And that's
Which
it.
is, you don't even know
Yeah.
anymore. This guy is unreal.
Nah,
Does
he-
that make you feel some kind of way, though, on top of it? I mean, obviously he's more protected being a quarterback,
Mhm.
but the longevity of his career is kind of an anomaly and
Well,
insane.
It's kind of well, since they have changed the rules, like those positions, especially the quarterback position.
You can't even breathe on them
Yeah.
without getting a
So you
penalty.
got Drew Brees just retired. He was 20 years.
I
He was we were actually in the same draft class.
I love him. One of the greats,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Tom Brady's 22 years maybe.
Yes.
Phillip Rivers just retired. He was like 17 years.
I'm
like,
gonna miss that bolo tie. But you actually, okay, I want to get to that because
Okay.
you played with Philip Rivers.
Rivers, yeah.
So after the Rams, you went to the Chargers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got traded. So our coach got fired. Our head coach got fired. And
Which is like every other Sunday,
yeah,
right? It
then
feels like.
we had a new head coach. I can't think of his name, but we got a new head coach, and I just wasn't
Feeling
feeling
it.
whatever. So I didn't show
New
up to
system,
minicamp.
kind of, huh?
I didn't show up to minicamp, and I made up some excuse. So then it was mini camp, then we have the draft, and then another mini camp. So mini camp, I didn't show up. Then the draft comes, and they drafted 2 tight ends in the second round and third round, which is pretty high.
Which was pretty much telling you something.
Yeah, it was telling me something. So then, I was getting a bunch of calls that first day. It was first, second, third round. They're like, oh, what do you think about coming here? So I actually had a couple people like trying to reach out to me, Detroit, a few other places. So then the fourth round comes, and Marty Schottenheimer calls me. And I was like, hello? It was a 619 number. And he was telling me, hey, we did it, Marty Schottenheimer. We just traded for you. I'm going to put you through to our people. Glad to have you. And then they called me and like, hey, when can you be down here? And I was in LA at the time. So I'm like.
You're like, actually in 2 hours.
Yeah, I was like, I can drive down tomorrow if you want. And so I went out there, and then that was it. 4 years there. It was a great time.
Okay, I think I heard from my husband, who actually, Montegray, that you had high accolades or comments about Phillip Rivers being with him on the team, because there's a lot of mixed talk about him, right? But you actually had some praises for him.
Oh yeah, I think he's amazing. I know people like in the media kind of talk a lot about the way he talks trash to other teams and all that, which is, everybody talks trash. It's just the quarterback's always mic'd up, so you hear it. But in the locker room, just in the locker room, he's a funny guy, because he's kind of from the South,
So his sense of humor already.
Yeah, he's from the
very
South.
Country.
It's very country. I think I don't remember how religious he was. He seemed pretty religious, but I know his wife that he's married with, got like 9 kids with. They've been together. He told me they were together since like 6th grade, 7th grade.
Oh.
So, he got that whole thing. But then he's in a locker room with a bunch of dudes from everywhere.
Right.
We're just bumping rap music in the locker room all loud and everything. And then he comes in there and he's walking around with his hands all high with his country slang. He's rapping, he's singing rap music and everything.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Well, do you remember what kind of his favorite artist was? Do you remember what he would be rapping? Just whatever.
Know. I just remember like some of the songs that were out at that time. Like, you remember that Snoop and Akon song?
Yes.
I Want to Love You.
Yes.
He would sing.
He would sing that.
Like we just be at practice in the huddle, and you just hear him like, I wanna love you. Or we had to, and I was looking at him like, what the?
Did he sing it with an accent though? Because his little dialect, that would have been everything.
It was hilarious. And then like when they had I don't know if it's Webby or Boot, I don't know what, but it was INDEP.
Yeah.
He'd be walking through singing. I mean, she got her own car. She got her own. I just feel like, what the hell, Phillip?
She got her own car.
Yeah. So he would be singing that. It was pretty hilarious, though. And it was just, he's a good guy. And the thing about it that you really appreciate just at the quarterback position is just the way he prepared. Because, as an athlete, we always want to have fun and this and that. But, we always want to win.
Yeah. Well, you still have to work, right?
Exactly. So, I've had quarterbacks where, they weren't the most
passionate,
attentive to when it came to film and all that stuff, just kind of knowing the stuff. And I just like,
but dude, he was there.
He's a real deal.
Did you enjoy one team more than the other? Like being a part of the St. Louis Rams versus being a part of, the Chargers?
Well, it was different. It was different because the Rams team, the Rams team was a veteran team. Mm-hmm. So you got like Marshall Faulk, you got Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Orlando Pace.
They kind of knew what they were doing, right?
Yeah, but you got like guys that I actually would watch when I was before I was even in college, right? So I was more of when I first got there, I was more in awe
of the caliber of athlete.
Yeah, and I was just kind of always so scared to like mess up because it was just like, man, like
you've got shoes to fill.
I'm in a huddle with Marshall Faulk. Like I don't want to mess up. You know what I mean? Because the last thing
you want,
the last thing you want is like your childhood fucking hero just yelling at you. So I'm like, oh, no, I messed up. But when I got to San Diego, I was already a veteran, and I was actually one of the older guys on the team at the time because it was a really young team. But I had went through living in St. Louis, and
now you're kind of close to home.
It was close to home. I came from a winning team, and the way we prepared, and it was really St. Louis worked us.
Yeah.
Like as a team organization, we really worked hard. So when I got to San Diego, and they didn't work, the practices weren't the same.
It was a little more lax.
A little more lax, and then you know, it was the same offense, so I didn't have to learn anything new. So I was just like, oh, I'm here chilling. So and I was an hour and a half from home or 2 hours from home. I was just like, this is the best thing ever. So I learned a lot in St. Louis. I was actually able to enjoy it in San Diego, and then my year in Chicago, I was just.
At this point, you're just really
Yeah,
chilling.
I was literally like hanging out with R. Kelly at his house, chilling. But
What? You
I went
didn't
to party.
see a lot of that
No,
stuff?
no.
Oh, okay.
No. I didn't see none of that, so I you know,
You're like, I can't testify. I can't.
everybody they looked.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, it was grown people there.
It looked like all consensual. That makes sense.
Yeah. But nah, it was I would say I had the more fun in San Diego because I was already a veteran and I was able to kind of be a little more comfortable with, you know, my career, knowing that, hey, I'm not gonna get fired tomorrow.
Right.
Whereas St. Louis, I was always like, damn, I'm about to get fired today. You mess up, you're like, damn, they're gonna fire me.
Which is a lot of pressure, but you kind of needed that to always be on your toes and
Yeah,
perform
but I
at your
mean,
peak.
it is what it is. Like, you know, we were getting paid a lot of money, so
Right.
it came with the territory. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't have to deal with
Speaking
the
of which,
pressure.
how much money again? No, I'm just
Your Honor, Your Honor. No.
He's like, you could buy some Skittles. I get it. Oh man. Okay, so then after, what made you then end your career with Chargers? You went to the Bears.
Yeah, so I was a free agent,
Okay.
and San Diego wanted me to come back, but just for a lot less. And I was kind of getting towards the end of my career.
And you knew, and you're like, okay, I gotta
If I can
much
get
bang
one
for
more
my buck.
lick, if I get one more lick, then I'm gonna do it. So the Bears offered some money, and I was like, I'm going to Chicago.
Yes, actually.
So I went there. I had a lot of fun. That is a great city.
Chicago.
Chicago's
Well, the
great.
culture alone.
Oh yeah, it's a great city. The food's great. The people are great. It's a sports town, so like they die
really love
hard.
their athletes.
Oh yeah. And
But
then,
you were only there for how long at Chicago?
a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they knew I was having too much fun. Like, get him out of here. So I was probably partying way too much out there.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
kind of paid your dues. You're already not really thinking about
Yeah, I was just chilling.
tomorrow.
Yeah, and it was cold as like.
Oh, they do tell like the winters in Chicago are rough.
God, and then we were practicing outside, so that made it even worse. I'm just like, why are we out here? So we finished practice, it'd be like -8, and then you just go, oh my God.
Can't feel any of your extremities at that point.
Can't feel
So then it's
anything.
miserable.
Go get in the hot tub, warm up, get in the car, drive downtown, and just enjoy my night.
Yeah. When did you start having a family? Was that did that happen during
Well,
your career?
I wouldn't call it a family. I mean, I had kids, but how do I put this? So I have a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I had her right before I went to Chicago. I had a daughter, when I was in San Diego, and then when I got to Chicago, I had a son.
Okay.
And then when I retired, I had another son. Probably about 3 years after I retired or got cut. So
How was that though? Like being a professional athlete and then becoming a dad?
It's a balancing act. You know what I mean? It's because part of you is still kind of in the limelight. You're still kind of, out and about, and
Mm-hmm.
people recognize you, women recognize you, and then at the same time, like you gotta be able to kind of keep a level head when you're around your kids. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you don't want them to grow up. You want them to grow up as I guess I don't even know if that's the word normal, but you want them to grow up just have a normal childhood,
Yes.
and so you try to balance like your nightlife or your whatever personal life
with your family life.
Yeah, with the
With
family
your-
life. So it's hard. I mean, I people who do it, I commend them. A lot have fallen though.
Would you say that being a parent is harder than being an NFL player?
I think it's the same.
Yeah.
And
They're just do different things,
yeah,
obviously.
it's a commitment either way. I think the father part is not easy. It's because it's fun.
Mm.
But just as an athlete, I think the part of being like a like for instance, of a family, the father part is not the hard part. It's the husband or the boyfriend or husband part's the hard part. Like as a professional
Really?
athlete.
Okay, because you're dealing with another person who's an adult as well. You know, kids obviously you can mold in your image and
Yeah.
kind of guide them, but you already have a grown adult next to you. I can understand because marriage is definitely hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm married and it's a choice, I feel, every single day to wake up and go, yeah, I'll renew this contract, you know?
And it's not. The funny thing is like it's I don't know. It's so much, especially like well, I know a lot of younger people, but like social media now, you have access to see so much.
And was that what was happening?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
Because I kind of would, thankfully, like
There wasn't so much of that
towards the end of my
happening.
career, like it wasn't, Facebook kind of had just got popular. There was no Instagram, Twitter had just started, so I wasn't on any of it.
Right.
So my life was kind of
Still private.
yeah. So I was able to kind of float around different cities and not be noticed. You know what I mean? But now you can't do anything.
Not at all. You can't even sneeze weird and then get captured on camera with
I
some
know, like,
crazy.
oh,
You'll
he
become
got
a
the
meme
Rona.
or a GIF, you know? Oh, yeah. Or that too. Okay, so then after the Bears and you decide, like you said, you were trying out for other teams, but
Yeah.
then kind of realized, okay, you're over it.
Yeah, I actually had, because I had messed my knee up. I had surgery on my knee, and so I didn't pass the physical for the Jets, and then the 49ers, I passed the physical, but they had concerns about my knee and like durability, so they just decided not to sign me. So I was getting tired of like the
The back and
pulling and
forth.
poking and flying. I was just like, you know what? Let me just stay home.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, my kids were here, so I was just like, stay here and do the dad thing.
Do the dad
full
thing.
full time. So.
Yeah. So you did that, and then you were also looking into still having football in your life by coaching.
Correct.
So you went to your old high school and helped out.
I did that as well. So I went to the high school, coached there for 10 years. We won 9 city championships.
Holy cow.
So 9 city championships.
Do you think your experience helped out a lot with the high school?
A little
Absolutely,
bit,
right?
a little bit, yeah. But it wasn't. The head coach actually he
Was
he
great.
built it from pretty much not I ain't gonna say scratch, but he built it from like it was real low,
Okay.
and he made it into like a national powerhouse. Like we were ranked in like the top 10 in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're just a public LA Unified School in Harbor City. You know what I mean? So it was like just out of nowhere, like what the hell are these dudes doing?
What are they doing to get noticed? And that's pretty incredible. So then that gave you your foundation. Is coaching so much different than being a player?
Oh yeah, well especially for me because a lot of times like think things that I think are easy, the kids don't get.
Yeah.
And it's almost like one of those things. And one of my friends, actually the guy who used to train me when I was in that league, he was like, you can't teach kids because you can't think the kids are like you when you're trying to teach them. And not like, it's not even that. It's just mentally like, and I notice kids a lot today. Like I used to watch football. I watched basketball. Like I always watched sports when I was little. These
But
kids,
not these.
they don't watch, like they learn all their stuff from Madden, or Xbox, you know what I mean? Or PlayStation.
Or they're worried about their next TikTok.
Exactly. So, kids, I always tell them like, oh, did you see this? And they're like, oh, I don't watch football. I'm like,
But you're
but
playing
you're
it.
playing it.
Maybe kind of watch somebody who's doing it too.
Yeah,
Might help
so-
you a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's kind of from that aspect, it's kind of, they don't have a football IQ. So when I'm teaching kids, I'm like literally having to teach them from like a lot of them.
Well, they're baby IQ when it comes to the sport. And so then you're
Exactly.
having to breastfeed them per se, and then having to teach them how to walk.
Exactly. And
Put
a
their
lot of them
pants
from the
on.
high school, you think once you're in high school, like you would have a better understanding.
At
but
least a better foundation than what they already have.
Exactly. So, I'm just trying to teach them from there. But that's the biggest thing is just I can't like teach somebody how I would have been taught, because
Right.
I felt like
It's a
maybe
different time.
a different time, and I was a little more advanced as far as the football IQ was concerned, like X's and O's.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets frustrating at times, but the kids are progressing, and that's what it's all about. So I try to remind myself, like, hey, you're not talking to other professional athletes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing, and motivation is another thing that I'm kind of,
Fi- Finding is a little tough. They're not
yeah,
self-motivated.
not as much. Or you yell at them, they kind of go in a little shell, and I was like, man, you can't be that sensitive.
Well, okay, I'm pretty sure I know your answer to this, but do you believe in those sports when they're younger where everybody gets a trophy and they
No,
don't even count points?
no.
Isn't that bullshit? I
Mm. Everybody should.
should know that loss.
Yeah, but
Should
that's the
know
thing,
winning and losing.
and that's the thing with life. Like, there's always a winner and a loser.
Always. I feel
Always.
like that's the generation we're dealing with right
Mhm.
now on top of it. So the uphill battle is even higher,
Mhm.
right? Because you do have these programs that are teaching our kids, and when they're so impressionable
Mhm.
at that age and they're these little sponges, and they think that if they just show up,
Mhm.
they'll get an award for it.
Exactly.
And I feel like we're not equipping them with the right tools to actually live life. They're going to fall flat on their face and expect somebody to bring them a trophy.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, now you got those kids who got the participation trophies. Now they're applying for jobs and they're not getting it. And now it's
And then they're wondering wait, what? I
no,
don't
now
get a
it's like,
consolation job?
well, you know what? I didn't get this job. I'm gonna go on Twitter and say how much I hate this and that, and nobody should do this anymore because this and that and this and that. I'm like, but it's not even that. You just didn't get picked for the job.
Right.
Somebody else did, and they're fine.
Yes.
But it's that instant kind of like gratification. Like,
Amen.
it's a different generation. But
So how are you? I mean, you have your own kids,
Mhm.
and having to mold them into not having that mentality, which is so hard right now because it's all around us, right?
exactly.
How do you think as a parent you're helping kind of prepare them for that?
Just yell and hit them, I guess. I mean, the same things that prepare me. Get yelled at,
Right.
get slapped upside the head, and okay, I'm all better now.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's a little different, because well, for me personally, like I'm a big guy, and
So you're a bit intimidating to start with.
yeah, so I yell and they kind of listen, but then sometimes they don't, and you want to just hit them, but then I'm like, I can't just be beating on my kids, so I try not to. I kind of give a little soft tap.
Like a little warning tap.
Yeah, just a little
I like it.
a little soft punch to the gut, before I connect with the chin. That usually stops them. But it's I try to like talk to them, explain things, and then if that doesn't get through, then
Then you whoop them.
I whoop
Yeah.
'em.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on the talking to them part, Feel like if I scare the shit out of them now, I think they'll be okay.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. And that's the thing, like, and maybe how we were kids, like
Oh, yes, do I ever.
everybody feels like, and especially a lot of young kids, like they have a voice, and I'm like, yeah, you do have a voice, just not in the house.
Right.
When I'm talking or when I'm telling you to do something,
Yes.
you don't have a voice. But outside in class, no, yeah.
Yeah. By all means, exercise those rights.
Yeah, but in the house,
You
no,
have none.
You have none. If I tell you to do something, do it. If you don't, I'm gonna throw a shoe at you. So
I just have so much more understanding and I think respect for my parents
Mhm.
because I only have two, and how they juggled
Mhm.
all of us, and we all turned out okay. I mean, I have a weird twitch every now and then, but besides that, I feel like they did something right,
Oh,
know.
yeah.
And so I think this generation also is just a little bit more sensitive,
They're sensitive.
soft. I
Uh,
feel like they're a little soft, a little more soft than
Yeah, I think it's
a little
a
gushy, a little fluffy. No,
it's two things. I feel like it is they are a little softer, but at the same time, I feel like parents aren't as
aren't as like preparing them as much
That
either.
plus
Or I feel like the parents are even more scared to even parent.
Nah, I think it's more of because I always felt like back when we lived growing up in Carson, whatever. Like if we lived over by Scott Park. If we go do something bad at the park, like whoever worked at the park would yell at us and tell us
Mhm.
something. then they call my mom.
Like it truly took a village to raise a
Exactly.
child.
But now, if I go to the park
And somebody even
and yells at me, then my mom's going. Then now the people nowadays, the mom goes up there and then yells at the person for yelling at me.
And so then there's that contradiction of they kind of forgot about the first problem, which was you shouldn't have been doing the shit you were doing in the beginning.
Exactly. Now it's like, so now you have parents telling kids, oh, don't let them tell you this, don't let them tell you that. But then it's like, well, they were right though.
Yes.
So I think not only are kids, a little softer, I guess, but
they're
I think,
also very smart. I think we tend to forget that children are very smart, and so they know how to work the system already.
I know.
Right?
Like I know my kids, like it's stuff that they do around their mom that they won't do with me, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So they know how to work it. Where they're like, oh, dad's here, let's do this. Oh, mom's here, oh, we could do this. You know what I mean? And if you have the two people at the heads not talking or not communicating, then they know like, oh, we're getting away with it.
They can work, one or the other, and treat you guys differently. Now, how is that with coaching though? Because now you're kind of a parent to all these kids.
It's a little, but like I said, so.
The IQ is a football IQ is a little less.
But so for instance, the other day, this is an example. I went kind of hard on the kids one day. We were hitting a lot. I was yelling. Everybody screaming. It was pretty chaotic, but it was a good thing because they needed it. So on the way home from practice, I get a text from a parent says, "Hey, my son didn't have a good day. We got to keep these boys together. Yada yada yada." But I'm just like, and I was like, yeah, you're right. I went really hard. I want to really set the tempo and what I want and expect. But at the same time, I'm just thinking like, I didn't do nothing but yell.
Right. You didn't even.
I literally didn't do nothing but yell at him, and he went home and told his mom, and she said something to me, and I'm just thinking like, my mom never said anything to a coach, like, but I never went home and told her like the coach yelled at me. I was just like,
right.
I was like, oh, I had a rough day, or I didn't have a rough day. Like it was, I don't know. In
a sense, though, I do love that they do, I guess, talk to their parents, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like for us, me especially, not only being Black but also Samoan, that line of communication is never open.
Shut up. Shut up, and they slap you like, all right, well.
You're like, what? I mean, I know my parents always talk to my teachers. If any of us were out of line, please feel free to whoop their ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, so that wasn't a safe haven for us to go tell mom, oh, I had a hard day. They probably called me a pussy, and it was just, but in a sense, I do admire that about this generation too, is that line of communication between your parent and then us as well. So there's a lot of things that I want to continue with how my parents parented me, but there's also some things I want to improve on. I.e., I would love for my kids to be able to come to me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like
I
try to be aware of it. So I always ask my kids, "Hey, how's your day? Are you all right? Anything bothering you? Them types of things." But I'm like, don't be a snitch though. Like, don't go and tell. If I hit you, don't go home to school and tell everybody I hit you. Just come home and
right.
suck it up.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, suck it up.
And be prepared to be hit again.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so awesome. Okay, so now what's the next step? Well, I would like to know, and I'm sure a lot of the youth too, who look just like you, right? What is it that you would have done differently? If you had a chance or a choice. I remember you saying there's some things that you probably would have gone back and kind of switched up, or knowing what you know now, what you could apply then.
Sheesh,
You'd have more kids?
No.
I
mean, I don't
Not
mind
that
them.
you love. Yeah, you love them.
I think the biggest thing would be as a high school player, if I'm in high school, I would do participate more in other activities. Yeah.
But not just athletics, like other
Not
things?
athletics, student council,
Nice.
debate club, anything. Just
Theater?
participate in more stuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I would do that.
So you'd want to be more rounded, more well-rounded in high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not just because it's not just participating in those activities, but just getting to know more people outside of your immediate circle. You know, because I always get that a lot. I'll be out and about, and people know I went to Narbonne in the area. So I'll see somebody and like, oh, I went to Narbonne when you were there, and I don't necessarily remember them. And I'm like, dang, I wonder. Like this is a true story. The girl I sat next to at my high school graduation, I had never seen her in the 3 years I was there.
Oh my
Never.
gosh.
And I was like, damn, I wonder how I never met this girl. And of course, I don't know everybody in the school, but it's just
Right.
one of those things. So I always like wish I was more well rounded to meet people outside of football and girls I was trying to talk to. You know what I mean? So that was high school. College, I would work harder. Actually, I would work. I didn't really work that hard in college.
Well, I mean, just from what you said, that's amazing that you made it to the NFL when it wasn't even a goal of yours.
Mm-mm.
So that's pretty incredible to
Yeah.
reach the highest level of that sport and yet kind of, just
Yeah.
you must have worked hard
No,
somewhat to be
I was
able to.
always on time. I was always at the events at the stuff I was supposed to be at. But like in the weight room, I wasn't really a hard worker in the weight room. Um, I didn't really take care of myself physically like I should have. Like I said, I was always up and out and just out and about. And, now that I know how my body feels now, I wish I'd have been like I would have better care of my body
Yes.
back then.
Mm.
Maybe my knees and back wouldn't be so, all that stuff.
Taking you a little bit to
Yeah.
step down from the bed or get onto
I
the
know.
bed.
That morning walk to the bathroom was
Ooh,
like,
ooh.
I was like, what? I'm about to just pee on the floor.
Right.
I
I
don't
was
want
like,
to
I'm
do.
about to invest in Depends right
Yeah,
now.
you gonna you got the little bottle I use. Let me pee in the bottle.
Okay, so that's in college. You would have worked harder. And then in your career, in your NFL career?
Uh, NFL career. I don't know. Yeah, I would have just. I mean, I guess the biggest hurdle I had there was just I would have kept it in my pants. Basically, that was
Mhm.
probably the biggest thing. You know,
Yeah, and focus. I mean, well, comes with it, right? The
that's
life.
what it comes with it, and that's the thing. Like, you got to be mentally prepared, and I was prepared, I guess, because I'm coming from LA, so it's like,
Right.
growing up here, it's a lot of pretty women. I mean, so many people here, so I was kind of always prepared. I just, you know, it's like having a superpower, but you're like, do I use it for good or evil? And I was like, oh, evil. So,
You're like, I can justify it later.
yeah, hey. So, yeah, it was one of those things, like, I would probably change that a little bit and just kind of slow it down.
Okay, and then lastly, what would you tell the youngins now, especially especially kids who are exactly like you, because there's so many mixed
Hmm.
ethnicities now, especially
Yeah, yeah.
black and Samoan or black and Polynesian.
Yep. The biggest thing I tell kids now, like, and, I find this with a lot of athletes, not all, but a lot, is it's not uncool to be smart. You know what I mean? And that was kind of a thing, like, growing up back in the day. Remember back in the day, you had those kids who was trying to, like, be smart, but then they were trying to be in the gang and then, like, be lying about the report card just to fit in with their friends.
Yes, when they were undercover nerds, but
Exactly.
yeah.
So I was like,
Or not make nerd such a bad word. It's
it's like,
cool to be a nerd.
it's okay to be smart. Like, it's cool. It's actually a good thing to be smart. Like, you don't want to be a dumb person just in general. Like, you always want to be able to take care of your finances, right? You always want to be able to control, like, your next move. But, if you're an uneducated person, you're always kind of at the it's always somebody that's going to be ahead of you kind of telling you what to do as opposed to being able to create your own path. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like educating yourself, like how we are now, you know what I mean? You educating yourself, you find out what it takes, and then you kind of just attack that path. You know what I mean? And you don't have to have a boss or somebody tell you, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. Figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the thing about now with social media and all these things, and especially with the pandemic and a lot of people starting their online businesses and just podcasts and things like that. Be your own boss. You know what I mean? It's okay to go work. I mean, some people need a 9 to 5, but at some point, educate yourself to do it yourself.
I
You know
think
what
a lot of the time we don't realize what we truly are capable of, right?
Exactly.
Because we don't give ourselves that opportunity or even that chance. We play it safe too much
Yeah,
of the
because a lot of
time.
people, they act out of fear.
Yeah, and then on top of it, we already come from cultures and ethnicities that are, in a sense, really sheltered, and
Yeah,
we're already pigeonholed in what we're supposed to do.
exactly,
And so the dice is kind of stacked up against us
exactly.
already. But now knowing what we know now,
Yeah,
it's nice to hear that
and that's
like
the
you can
thing.
be your
Like,
own person,
yeah, and I
and you
would
really
like,
can.
yeah, because if we knew what we knew now, we would have did it earlier. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
we would have did a lot of things earlier. And that's me personally. Like, I would have gotten to coaching at a more serious level earlier in my retirement than I
Because you
did now.
really do enjoy coaching.
I do, but I was just kind of the first 5-6 years. I was just kind of coasting because I really didn't have any other thing going on. I was like, oh, it kind of keeps me busy. You know what I mean? But now, like, I'm getting serious about it. I was like, I should have did this years ago. You know what I mean? But
But maybe you weren't meant to,
yeah, yeah,
Maybe this is the time where you are because you are serious about it now.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and like
Well,
you said,
because
your mentality didn't know you were coasting,
yeah, no, it's kind of just cruising through life, like But and another thing, I always tell kids is a lot of well, not kids, but just young adults is just don't be afraid to fail. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people they're so scared to fail, and especially at a young age. I'm like, if you're 40 in your mid 40s, I'm 41.
I know. Happy late birthday. It
Yeah,
was in
like
January, but
January.
then you had a birthday 2020 before the world ended,
I
so that
did.
was pretty
I
cool.
got it. I
Big
got my
4-0.
40th in before. I actually have pictures of it. So,
Yay! Okay, that's
so
good.
yeah. So
But don't be afraid to fail.
don't be afraid to fail. You know what I mean? Because that's really the only way you're gonna learn anyway is off your mistakes. So you know,
I think a lot. That phrase, youth is wasted on the young. I don't necessarily agree with that because for me, we were allowed to fail so much,
Yeah.
right? And I wouldn't take that. Pardon me. I wouldn't take that back.
Yeah.
Like that part of my youth, that fearlessness. And because I remember growing up and I'm like, man, I feel more fear now, especially after being a parent, after
Yeah.
experiencing so much and wondering how the hell I survived a lot of nights doing a lot of debauchery things. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so I don't necessarily think that youth is wasted on the young. I feel like you said, that's your opportunity to really fail
Yeah.
and stand back up. That's your true testament of who
Oh,
you're
yeah.
supposed to be
That's
or
the
who
thing
you're going to
when
be.
you're young, do it because you get to 40s, 50s, and you don't want to
And
fail.
your knees hurt and your back hurts.
Yeah, because you like, okay, I failed, but like, damn, like, okay, now my kids are suffering because of me failing. But if you don't have no kids or anything, like, have at it, try
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So that's just my biggest thing. Don't be afraid to fail. Always go out there, chase your dreams, and find your passion. You know what I mean? It's hard because a lot of kids don't know, just don't have that direction.
And it's okay to change your mind,
Oh yeah,
right? Like you said, part of failing and part of living is that you're trying all these new things so you can really kind of find where that passion is.
exactly.
It might not just come to you. You might have to work at it, and that's okay to try all those things out.
Definitely.
Wow, man, Coach Brandon Manumaleuna.
Yeah, Coach Brandon. They can't. The kids they don't know my last name yet, so I just like.
I can't wait until that comes out on a video, for the coach of Luzier. Like, hey, can you pronounce his last name? We just call him Coach Brandon.
Yeah, I don't even. What's funny is I stopped correcting people like years ago. I've heard so many versions of my name. I was like, yeah, that's how you say it.
Almost to the point where you believe it,
Yeah, yeah. That's right. Everybody,
You're messing up your own
Did I
name?
say it right? I was like, yeah, that was right. I don't even correct people anymore. I was like,
Yeah, just, if you can't beat them, join them, right?
yeah, basically. They're like, Mom, oh yeah.
Which is kind of cool because if you ever, get questioned by police or I'm just like, that's not me. Like, that's the wrong name.
I know. No, my name's Junior.
Oh, thank you again, Brandon. Really appreciate you
No, thank
being
you.
here on Everyone Loves Lulu. It's me, your girl, Miss Lulu. Another episode in the books. A birthday episode for me. I can't believe it. I'm getting closer to B over here. I only pray that I get to record my 40th
Well,
whenever that
look
happens.
at the bright side. You'll never catch me.
Yeah. True that.
I'll
That's
always
something
be
I
able to
don't
be.
mind not catching you on. Every Wednesday on islandblocknetwork.com. That's islandblocknetwork.com, where we see, hear, and speak love. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
See love, hear love, speak love. Everyone loves Lulu.